Thank you, Dr. Gaydon, for coming to speak to us. So we're going to be talking about pantheism, so I'm just going to ask a few questions. So first of all, how would you define pantheism? I know there are loads of different definitions and variations of it, but how would you put it?
So first of all, just to say and caveat that I'm not an expert on pantheism, so this shouldn't be taken as gospel or the truth or anything like that. And there's probably lots of people who disagree with me. But in general, I think the core pantheistic belief and the main part of the definition is to say that there is only the material universe, but if we take the material universe as an entirety, that unity, that whole, is something which is synonymous either with God or is the only thing worthy of being given the title divine.
Okay, so most religions obviously have God, so do you define it as a religion or a religious perspective?
So I would say that there is the possibility for religion, or at least a religious mindset within pantheism. But there are many pantheists out there, who, for example, in the World Pantheist movement, who would argue that it is closer to atheism in that it only believes the material universe and therefore doesn't believe in something supernatural, which means that it doesn't lend itself to any kind of theism or religion as you normally understand it.
Okay. So is there a strong point of it towards nature and ecology or not?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, again, within the World Pantheist movement, so maybe the most contemporary form of it, their core belief is in sort of reuniting each individual and humanity as a whole with the kind of natural universe, and so that they come into some kind of symbiotic relationship and revere the natural world.
So does it deny the superiority of humans over nature?
Absolutely, 100%. So each part of the whole is interdependent on every other part of the whole, and there is no sense in which there is a superiority, as you say, or any power dynamics that lead to a hierarchy, and in that sense it's very close to some forms of modern feminism as well.
Okay.
Was there anything you wanted to ask?
Yes. Do you feel that pantheism is mutually exclusive to normal classical monotheistic religions?
So one of the things I'm going to say in my talk is there are lots of people within monotheistic religions who hold sort of pantheistic beliefs. Spinoza being the most famous one, and his idea of substance monism, which is actually what he's kicked out of sort of Jewish community for believing. But I would say that, in my opinion, it is mutually exclusive, because the people who hold pantheistic beliefs within those monotheistic religions tend to want to try and reconcile the idea of a God that you can have a relationship with a belief in the unity of the universe being divine. Whereas pantheism, as I see it, would deny that there's any way to have that kind of personal relationship, because it is not a conscious deity. It's not something that you interact with or pray to or speak with.
On a slightly different note, most spiritual frameworks that people live with offer some sort of personal aspect. One of the criticisms of pantheism is that there's no personal aspect, and therefore it's difficult to make such a proposition attractive to any people. How would you respond to that?
And when you say personal, do you mean in the sense of there's no interaction with something? Yeah. So I would say that there is a possibility of personal interaction. It's just that the personality is a projected one. So in the sense of you are projecting a personality onto that unity in order to interact with it. And I wouldn't say that's a bad thing. It may be make-believe, but it's a necessary fiction. But one of the useful things about pantheism is, because you're trying to look at the perspective of the universe, even as you're projecting a personality, you're very much projecting an objective personality. So it might be what you want to call the most objective and potentially ethically best side of yourself that you're communicating with. I don't think that's a bad thing. Even if people then think it's a fiction and want to deny it, I don't see that that's something that's not worthwhile.
So
Christianity is the biggest religion in the world. Do you think there's any place for pantheism and Christianity to be together? Because there are a few Bible verses that may suggest, like Paul saying, "For in Him we live and move and have our being." Is there any way that they can be pantheistic?
Yeah, so I think I would say no. And whilst there may be pantheistic beliefs, I think that Christianity is so predicated upon the belief in immanent God, particularly through Jesus Christ, that there isn't any sort of possibility for that within a pantheistic mindset. So you may find pantheistic ideas, but it wouldn't be able to be coextensive with pantheism as a religion.
Okay.
Cool.
Our final question is, if pantheists consider God to be the totality of all existence, then why talk of God at all? Is it not to a certain extent redundant?
So if we're talking about, as you said, going back to sort of monotheistic deities or anything like that, then potentially, for some of the reasons you already mentioned about personal interaction, etc. But I wouldn't say it's redundant if we're sort of trying to reconceptualise what we mean by God and the divine. And God's maybe an unhelpful term for a pantheist. I think they're maybe reaching for it to bridge a gap. But really, if we get rid of the term God and just say something that's worthy of reverence and that comes with certain other religious emotions, then I think it actually is something very useful, and is very useful for things like ecology, feminism. Although I think it's problematic to say, I want to serve this ethical goal, and then work backwards. But I don't necessarily think that there's too much of an issue there. We'll probably unpack more of that later.
Sorry, last question.
Sorry.
So how has the rise of feminism and ecologism impacted pantheism? Has there been a growth increase in there?
So I think there is, in the sense of, because people are reaching or moving out into feminism and into deep ecology and things, and pantheism offers something, a kind of fundamental belief which allows for that standpoint. And so people then reach for pantheism to give a fundamental belief which underpins maybe their feminism or their deep ecology. However, I think that's a problematic rise, because what you're then doing is going with the ethical belief first, and then saying, well, okay, what belief allows me to hold this ethics? So a lot of some feminists would argue that we should promote pantheism as a society in order to resolve some of our issues around power structures and ecology. But that is, for me, is quite a disingenuous way of reaching pantheism, whereas I would want to say, well, can we defend the pantheistic belief first, and then look at what we should build up as a religion or a religious mindset?
Okay, well, thank you very much.